Glory to your house, the house of Apollo, where the echoes of legends are all we follow. Turn it up, feast your eyes, feel the fever ignite. Glory to your house, we burn through the night. We burn through the night.
In my effort to make this video, I've had to make it a few times, and thankfully, one of the last times had a bizarre audio issue that probably, had I chosen to just post that video and suck it up, would have resulted in my being placed on a watch list and probably expediently excommunicated from all of YouTube. So I think maybe I will just share some excerpts and put them in here so you guys understand how I feel about this miserable pile of excrement. With that said, we're going to talk about the why I feel that way. So, if you want to see how I feel about it, here's a clip or two. Like to hear it, here it goes. If I wanted to waste hours of my life watching a bunch of miserable women and fat lesbians prattle on about nothing, I would have just gone to Minnesota. It takes less than 12 minutes for Starfleet Academy to tell you exactly what it is. You see, we are introduced to a criminal who also happens to be a mother. And this criminal, well, she isn't responsible for her crimes, although said crimes did result in the death of an officer. You see, she made a choice, but again, she's not responsible. Even though she exercised her full agency and autonomy, her agency and autonomy, well, ultimately was subverted because her choices that she made freely were coerced. And they were coerced for reasons. And that reason being a toxic white male. Now, this toxic white male, he only exists so that the context for crime replaces responsibilities for her actions. Ultimately, because consequences and standards are evil, she is separated from her racially ambiguous son. And of course, there is no father. Well, he's not dead. It's not complicated. He's just absent. Because in this era of Star Trek, you see fathers, they go out for cosmic milk and they never come back. Or their children, well, they exist in secret and are hidden from the fathers until, well, a plot contrivance requires them to meet. Sometimes you find out that your secret kid is named after your dead best friend, whose mom, well, was also your dead best friend's widow. Not awkward at all. But that's supposed to be the good season. Nevertheless, according to this worldview, the only people who should have their children taken are Western parents, unless their crimes are, well, they're committed in the name of an approved ideology, in which case accountability disappears and everything becomes a matter of systems and circumstances. You see, in woke space, not only can you hear blue hairs scream, justice isn't universal, it is selective. Now, along with a load of common sense, the show forgot something that was pretty important. Starfleet is a military organization, rooted in naval tradition, chain of command, rules of bearing, posture, speech, dress. And before I deep dove into this too far, I stopped and asked for feedback from a really, truly very respected friend. And not only did this person serve, they have been tasked with protecting very high-ranking officials and have faced unspeakable dangers in some of the worst areas of the globe, all in the name of protecting the freedoms of woke idiots like Kurtzman to feed a slop like Starfleet Academy. And they made sure to point out that in the real military, just like as in classic Trek, you stand when superiors enter, you ask for permission to sit, you speak formally to commanding officers. Everything matters, from your haircut, your uniform, your attitude, but most importantly, the authority and leadership of your superiors. Now, versus Starfleet Academy, where authority, well, bro, it's vibes-based. And cadets, they get to mouth off. The officers, well, they posture reactively and emotionally. Let's talk about the avatar of this stupidity. our ship's chancellor, or rather our school's chancellor, and our ship's captain. Well, see, the chancellor, let's just say it, Nanny from Muppet Babies commanded more authority from the kids than she does. Holly Hunter, she's a fantastic actress, but she spends more time doing a bored Jim Ross impression.
What? What is this? What the hell is that? What the hell is that? It's not gonna know what are you doing?
Than she does trying to conjure up an ounce of authority or presence anytime she's on the screen. As a captain, well, she's been treating professionalism as optional, slouching, perching, sprawling about the captain chair like a bored 14-year-old girl scrolling through TikToks. Oh, and like any sane professional who should be taken seriously, she saunters about the ship, the promenade, shoeless, all while eating food off of other people's discarded trays while hosting conversations about high-stakes geopolitical maneuvering with a high-ranking official who happens to be her direct superior and with a peer who happens to be the headmaster of Slytherin. Repurposed as the War College for Star Trek Star Trek. Because at the end of the day, what Star Trek needs is Quidditch instead of Army versus Navy. I'm really excited for this week's episode. It's Dorm Wars. You see, in Star Trek or any real military, her behavior is its career-ending conduct. But here, in this nonsensical show, it's framed as virtue. And we all understand when you're watching Kurtzman nonsense, it's always activism over authority. It's always performance over command. It's just more decay disguised as progress. And let's talk about the officers. Oh my goodness. Let's just look at them. Out of shape, unfocused, undefined, not leaders, not mentors, just window dressing. They serve only three purposes. One, member berry props. Oh, hey, look, it's the doctor. Oh, hey, it's that thing, the rock thing from Prodigy. Oh, it's the exocons. Yay! The other two reasons. Well, one, we're going to elevate strong women because it's always about strong women in the future. So the first reason we're elevating a strong woman is so that a smug lesbian can deliver ham-fisted HR lectures instead of teaching the cadets about the importance of command presence and teamwork. The next one is to swap out an overtly masculine role so that an unconvincing fat woman can pretend that she's intimidating while delivering a piss-poor R. Lee Emery impression. No authority, no credibility, but more gay cringe than you can shake a stick at. You see, in classic Star Trek, the officers, they set the standards. These officers, they're just decorations for the scene. No leadership. It's just a rank for the purpose of putting someone in a brand new costume. Now let's talk about the lead, another boring character whose name isn't even worth learning. I think maybe was it Kalen, who gives a crap. So lead, he is 21 years old. I know this because they made a point of saying it at least 4 or 5 times during the pilot. So now this 21-year-old, when he was 7 to 8 years old, escaped a military outpost during an apocalyptic sandstorm. Well, how? Well, by the powers of his melanin enrichment, he managed to steal our chancellor's, then captain, but also playing the role of magistrate's comm badge. And as a 7 or 8-year-old, you took that comm badge and was able to hack a super sophisticated military outlet's computer system, which then allowed him to sneak out of the military base and out into the savages and ravages of this massive apocalyptic sandstorm that required the military base to be locked down and the shields be activated to stop it from being destroyed. But somehow, our 7 to 8-year-old not only survived this cataclysmic event, he was able to sneak himself on either a civilian freighter or a military freighter and escape the planet from the military base, which was locked down because of the weather event, and the fact that we now know that a missing 7-year-old is wandering around with a captain's comm badge.
What the hell is that? What the hell is that?
And he does this all during a time where space travel is very limited and food resources are virtually non-existent, even though they have replicators. Now, somehow, this 7 to 8-year-old Well, while he's on his own, enduring the ravages of space with brand new space pirates with superpowers, he manages to become a self-taught science genius, combat expert, and explorer of the stars. All this while still being slightly less impressive than his female peers in the Academy. Oh, and don't forget, there's now a sissy Klingon too. But we're going to save him for another video or another time. So, Jalen, Kalen, whatever his name is, he behaves like a 14-year-old. He's treated like he's 17. Even though he's 21, he's emotionally volatile, criminally defiant, openly disrespectful of authority, lacking restraint, discipline, or self-control. This is not a cadet being shaped for future greatness. This is an immature brat being protected from consequences via the magic of plot. See, classic Trek, it forged its adults, its officers, like diamonds under pressure. It threw them into the crucible, and they came out baptized by fire. They earned their station. Here, this show, well, it just simply validates temper tantrums and wants you to accept it as character depth. It's not growth. It's arrested development in the uniform. So, because this show is totally devoid of substance and must have the member berries, episode 2 is, well, it's rooted in the return of the Betazoids. Oh, well, a return to Betazed because we get the Betazoids. I'm sorry. Now, the one thing that Kurtzman and crew could not be bothered to research was that Betazoids are indistinguishable from humans in every way except for one. Their irises are all black. So, during the episode, we are treated to what I can only describe as a bunch of theater kids playing fanfic Vampire Diaries improv for their friend group, where the unconvincing male protagonist, Jalen, Kalen, whatever his name is talking to unmemorable female co-lead who, when she does interviews, has hair akin to all female creator wrestlers in WWE 2K. And she says, "Look into my eyes." It was supposed to be a very moving and touching and I suppose romantic moment. You get to see that the Betazoids, well, they're all missing their black irises. Betazoids are also all telepathic. For some reason, all the Betazoids in this episode are empathic. It's a very defining trait. See, the only reason that Counselor Deanna Troi was empathic is because she was part human. However, she did also retain the black irises. Here, all the Betazoids are empathic, and well, there's a reason for it. And that's because when we meet the Betazoid Chancellor, President, whatever his title is, he happens to be deaf and can only communicate via sign language. And unlike the TNG episode, where the ambassador had spent his entire lifetime working with his team to communicate, the Betazoids, again being telepathic, don't need sign language because they can talk directly into your freaking brain. They don't need it. It's Professor X on steroids. But they need sign language. So this bears, well, frankly, a rather obvious question, right? Why would a telepathic species need sign language? It makes no sense in universe. However, I do think that there is a reason. And that reason is, well, it's the jam in the handy capable, yes, we can douche chilling moment of the week. That's right. The handy capable, yes, we can douche chilling moment of the week. I will be picking these out on all of my reviews going forward. But see, because of the handy capable, yes, we can douche chilling moment of the week, apparently, in a future where we can rebuild a man's eyes after sustaining severe damage as a baby and give him super sight via placing cybernetics, super tiny cybernetics, inside of his eyes. We have a world where we have manually powered wheelchairs, but now with mag wheels. How cool, right? And although we very plainly established that in Star Trek II, glasses were antiques. Every other cadet wandering around the promenade, well, they all have douchey spectacles. That's right. Every hipster and wokester frame imaginable is here. That's right. And these strange, bespectacled people, well, they wear their glasses so that Kurtzman, as in real life, doesn't have to take the time to give them all personalities because the uniqueness of their frames does the speaking for them. Straight doo-doo. Oh, and let us not forget that apparently in the future a requirement of service is type 2 diabetes, because there's nothing but a bunch of lard asses wandering around from the officers to the cadets. It looks like the Thanksgiving Day parade in uniform. Why is this happening? Well, representation. That's why. Because these dumb writers, these lazy writers, are so busy patting themselves in the back while hoping that you're too damn stupid to clap before you think. Because at the end of the day, they need you. They want you to be so stupid that you can't tell the fact that these people do not know what they're doing. Oh, you know what? We got a whole bunch of unmemorable, nameless new aliens too. I think there's only 2 aliens in the entire show that got renamed. I think one was Paul Giamatti's whatever the hell his species is called, generic white guy villain, mustache twirlers. The and the fish guy, he's blue, but he's not. Oh, and we got the girl with the funky eyes things, and the sissy Klingon, and the Femme Hadar, who's supposed to be part Klingon. Whatever, who cares? Because none of this matters. Because these idiots, they always make the same mistake. They just don't understand why the aliens in Star Trek exist. It's just a fundamental misunderstanding of how this works. The aliens exist because they're mirrors of the human condition. The Klingons represent the warrior code and dogmatic loyalty and ruthlessness at war with your base desires. The Romulans represent secrecy, paranoia, duplicity, and an unchecked lust for power. The Vulcans represent logic, philosophy, discipline, and the quest for balance. The Ferengi, greed, consumerism, and corporatism without restraint. The Borg, the dangers in the over-reliance on technology, and oh my goodness, the cautionary tale of embracing the warmth of collectivism at the expense of rugged individuality. You see, each species, well, they embody an exaggerated trait of humanity so that we can examine it honestly from an outside perspective. That is the point of the aliens. Kurtzman's Star Trek era throws this away. The aliens don't embody ideals anymore. They don't reflect philosophy or culture. They're just douchey humans in tacky makeup or CG wandering around using modern vernacular to spew out that garbage we're supposed to pretend is dialogue, all while projecting modern political ideals, only from one side, though, with no internal logic, no discipline, no meaning, no allegory. Just more ideology in cosplay. Oh, and lastly, the Athena. This stupid, ugly ship with its lame-ass feathers. My God, have we fallen such a far way from Walter Matt Jeffries, the original art designer who designed the classic look of the ships. This man applied real-world physics to the ship designs, focusing on plausible machine function. He made sure that the focus was on haptic reality in order to sell the fantasy. If it didn't feel like you could touch it, if it didn't feel like you could live in it, if it didn't feel real, none of this was going to work. But here we have the stupid Athena and its nonsensical YA fantasy trash design. The damn thing looks like a cheap craftsman drill from Temu, but with a feathered cape. The feathers that for some reason, well, they separate from the ship. Even though these feathers are the nacelles are the things that hold the engine. So the stupid ship, the stupid craftsman drill, separates from its feather cape where the engines are stored, but somehow the stupid craftsman drill can still maneuver through space. Now, mind you, the inside of the dumb craftsman drill, well, it has quarters that are the size of the Mall of America. So when everybody's running about, because no one does any thinking, we just do running in this dumb show. When the people are running about, screaming and lenses flaring, well, we're supposed to go back to the outside and ignore the fact that this ship must be 5 times bigger than Cowboy Stadium. So that when it decides that it's going to go re-enter the atmosphere as an awful cover of an old song plays, and it descends over San Francisco, the craftsman drill somehow magically shrinks in size and lands on a tiny little helipad outside of the property overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge, and not on the probably 30 football fields it needed to be landing on. If I could have one thing, it would be to watch my 12th grade physics teacher watch that all play out on TV and watch his brain work overtime to not explode. You see, Star Trek is super science, tethered to actual scientific law. It leverages real cultures, real world ideas, real world differences, real world consequences, and it examines them freely and objectively through allegory, but most importantly, without judgment. Hell, sometimes it may even play the role of devil's advocate. But if we're going to be honest, what kind of self-respecting thought experiment wouldn't play devil's advocate occasionally? This isn't about Star Trek forgetting what it is or how it works. This is about a subversive cancer that's been introduced by an inept writer who could never understand the how or why Star Trek works in the first place. So he spent the last decade doing everything he can to destroy it and replace it with something less special. Why? Well, because, like with all art, and I mean, I'll say it, with any art worth discussing, there is an objective beauty about it. And because of that objective beauty, well, beauty in and to itself inspires. It inspires people to seek it out. It inspires people to create more beauty, to learn how to create that beauty. And most importantly, it inspires people to protect the beauty and the culture that fostered it. Kurtzman and his ilk, well, they're a product of an anti-culture. These are people who hate standards, resent accountability, recoil from masculinity, and most importantly, they lack the perspective and experience to realize that they are the ones who are wrong. Listen, here's the thing. Deep down inside, they know they're wrong. So they tell themselves that we're the ones who are wrong. So they can justify their hating of Star Trek. They're hating what it represents. They're hating what it has inspired. Them hating the people who fight to save it. And then hating you for not accepting their subversion, their coercion, and their dreck. So, in a never-ending effort to mask the fact that they don't know what they're doing, they do love to take the time to gaslight the fans. And, well, frankly, they love to misuse a wonderful quote pulled from the episode, a TOS episode, "Is there in truth no beauty?" They take a quote that is oftentimes falsely attributed to Spock, and, well, they throw it on t-shirts and everything else. But most importantly, they always leave out the second part because the quote in itself is 2 parts.
The glory of creation is in its infinite diversity.
And the ways our differences combine to create meaning and beauty.
You see, what these people don't understand is that the infinite diversity and that infinite diversity, infinite combinations can never, ever be about diversity through exclusion. It cannot be about hierarchy. It can never be about silencing dissent, but it can only be about truth, about standards, about understanding how different people, ideas, and cultures fit together to create harmony. You see, for the Kurtzman woke tards and weirdos, well, their version of diversity, it butchers the concept to suit their needs. However, the truth of it, Star Trek's version, well, that demands a universal truth. And that universal truth is super simple. Justice applies to everyone. Rules mean something. And differences, well, those differences combine, they don't divide. You see, Star Trek at its best, when done right, it asks more of people. This era, well, the only thing it can ask you is to think less of others or to not think at all.
From the ink of the comics to the glow of the tube, every twist, every turn keeps us locked in the groove. TV's flashing neon, check the microphone. We're the speakers of subjects, the kings of the code. Raise the